into the Eagles Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Marisa Pilla alongside Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. The Eagles just wrapped up their first preseason game, 181 days since they last were in action. Feels good to see the Eagles back out on the field, fellas. Unable to break that impressive yet bizarre win streak the Ravens have down there in preseason, 24 games unbeaten in preseason. Eagles lose this one 20-19. But big picture-wise, this was an opportunity. We saw a lot of guys get on the field who are deep in the depth chart. Some rookies, all the rookies and draftees got out in the field. First impressions for both of you. Where do you stand on this one?
It was great to see the young guys get out there and play, right? We know the Georgia Bulldogs, now Philadelphia Dogs, got a chance to knock some of that rust off tonight. Got a chance to see Jalen Carter out there on the field, Nolan Smith, Keely Ringo, guys running around, attacking the football. Coaches got an opportunity to coach these young players up in real live game action. You don't know how a player is going to react to being in the game until you get him out there. So it's one thing to be in practice. It was great to see these guys out there tonight to get a little game action in.
And look, after going through practice over these last couple of weeks, now being able to put them in those live situations, the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half, the 4-minute drill defensively at the end of the game, those things are imperative. There are a ton of third downs on both sides of the ball tonight. So being able to get those live reps, not just for the rookies, but for those fringe players, those young veterans, huge opportunity here tonight and for these next couple of games.
You said you cannot replicate game minutes. There's simply no replication in a training, but you've watched training camp. You guys have seen all the different looks and everything like that. What changes? What do you hope to see out of these players once the lights come on the stadium?
Well, I know for me as a former player, I'm ready to see who wants to hit somebody. You know, in today's game, they don't do a lot of live tackling. They don't do a lot of live drills for obvious reasons to keep these players healthy. But when you get out there in the preseason game, now it's the time to cut it loose. There's no pulling off anybody. It's time to go out there and let's show what you can do. And for the young players, a lot of these guys coming out of college, first and second year, the last couple of years, they want an opportunity to show that they belong at this level. And tonight was one of those first of 3 opportunities to show that they could play at the NFL level.
Yeah, and let's be real, there are some guys where when the lights go on, that's when they shine brightest. And you want it to be able to be a situation where, hey, you know what, they practice the same way that they play and the same guys that stand out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show up here on Saturday night. But that is not always the case. And we saw a number of young players show out tonight for the first time here this summer. That's really good for them moving down through the rest of the training camp and preseason.
Listen, we have a lot of questions for Ike, but we know you have questions at home as well. So if you have a question, make sure to ask Ike, presented by Pond La Hockey. We have questions coming in the chat online, so if you have a question, you might see Ike answer it. But I love that point you guys made about when the lights come on in those big-time moments. Someone who just made a great first impression, Jalen Carter, just introducing himself to the Philadelphia Eagles fan base. Just an incredible performance we saw from him. His agility, his way that he moves his body at such a big size is so impressive. How did he kind of put a period on the end of the sentence of "this is who I am"?
Well, I tell you, it didn't take long for us to see why he was considered one of the top talents in the entire draft. Eagles fortunate enough to have Jalen Carter fall to him, and man, he's going to make a lot of plays in this Eagles defense. You saw early athleticism, his ability to change direction, bring the quarterback down. And I tell you what, trying to block this young man one-on-one, good luck with that. I mean, he is a man amongst boys. So it was great to see number 98 get out there and show what he can do.
Yeah, I'm going to break that play down a little bit later in the show for our Ricoh review. So excited to share some of my thoughts into the nitty-gritty there. But what I will say is that we saw flash plays from Jalen Carter almost on a daily basis so far this summer in training camp. So it's great to be able to see now with him carry that over from practice to the game. You would expect that from the top 10 pick, but again, you just want to be able to see it come to fruition, and that's what we saw here tonight.
And this is a player who has vets talking about him in training camp. Jason Kelce said the way he's moving around, guards have to think twice about how to block him, and Fletcher Cox said you usually don't see rookies move the way he does. So just for him to already have that understanding and that awareness of where his body needs to be, I think only bodes well for the Eagles going forward.
Yeah, and you're talking about, you know, a gentle giant, right? He doesn't say a whole lot. You know, he's been in training camp. He's been through OTAs. I don't know if he's done more than 1 or 2 interviews. I just haven't seen him do a whole lot. And he seems like a guy to me that's all about business. He wants to get out there on that field and loves to play the game of football and show what he can do. So The one thing when you tell young players when they come in, it's best to be seen and not heard. And Jalen Carter right now, he's being seen all over the field. Tonight we got our first opportunity to really see what the Eagles hope to be a very bright career for him in Midnight Green.
And that's what's so exciting, not just about Jalen, but really about this entire rookie class, is that they're not being thrown into the fire right away. The third-team defense is out there, and you see Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Sidney Brown, Tyler Steen working with the second team, Tanner McKee working with the third team, Kaylee Ringo working with the third team. And so you're not having to throw these young players that are very talented and very gifted. There's no team in the NFL that's going to be having Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith out there when the third-team defense is on the field. The Eagles have that luxury, but it's really, really fun to be able to see those guys go out and perform without having that pressure of being relied on to have an impact early on.
Right, developing that talent is even more important than just having it on. Like many people on Twitter were saying, or X or whatever it's called now, we're saying, I can't believe Jalen Carter even fell to the Eagles. It's almost unfair at this point. But now, as you said, he has that pleasure of the time to actually put in the work, to get his feet underneath him, and not the pressure of the weight of the world on his shoulders to show up. And as you said, this is a good opportunity to get a good look at the coaches as well. Sean Desai's defense kind of rolled out for the first time, and this is preseason. It's kind of the tip of the iceberg in terms of what we're going to see from the Eagles defense this year. But from what you saw tonight, what are the building blocks we can expect going forward?
I think playing fast, rallying to the football. Listen, it's the preseason, so Coach Desai isn't going to do a lot of scheming. They don't want to show a whole lot as they get prepared for that first game in New England. But I think as a coach, you want to give your guys enough tools to go out there and play fast. You want to give them enough to be able to defend whatever the offense is doing. But at the same time, you don't want them thinking a whole lot. So you're not putting a whole lot in the game plan. You want to see them react instinctually. And I think that's what you got a chance to see the guys do out there tonight. As defensive guys, again, they don't get to hit in training camp very often. So tonight was an opportunity for these guys to run around, get to the football, and I love what I saw, especially our younger players. I mean, you talking about Sidney Brown. When is he not around the football?
Yeah, right.
It was great to see Ricks get a pick six.
Yep.
Get in the end zone. So you see our young players, when they're allowed to play, they can show you flashes.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to try and give away too much from a schematic standpoint. All the coverages that these defensive players were playing in the back seven, they were playing those same coverages with the same technique in high school. They were going to keep it very, very basic, very, very simple for them. But to Ike's point, that allows them to play fast. You're not thinking about what your role is in the scheme. Just go out, do what you know how to do from a football standpoint, go through all of that muscle memory, and just go and find the football.
Yeah, it's important to take things slow, make sure you get your feet set, because they also have joint practices coming up, and we know that's been a big discussion at Eagles camp, but that's where we're going to see more action happening in those joint practices with the Browns and the Colts. But from a defensive player, how do you play yourself from preseason to get ready and not bite too hard at that first opportunity, as you said, to hit somebody?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it all depends on the player, right? When you get younger players, they're going to always be eager to show you what they can do. They're still trying to prove themselves. You get some of the veterans, they know how to sort of get through practice, get the work done, make sure they detail all their assignments, but know how to practice smart. And their focus is getting to that first game. You know, the guys that pretty much have their roster spots solidified. But the young players, they can't take a day off, whether it's a live practice, whether it's joint practice, whether it's preseason. Every opportunity you get out there to show that you belong in this league, you had better take advantage of it, because that's the thing about training camp. What is it, 80, 90 players?
90 players,
90 players that are in here. It's only 53 that can make the roster. So you're talking about nearly 40 guys that may not be here. All these guys want the opportunity to prove that they can play at this level. So the younger players, they can't afford to take any days off. The veteran players, they're going to always be smart, and they have an eye towards the first game of the season.
Yeah, and Marisa, you brought up the joint practices coming up, starting on Monday against Cleveland, Monday and Tuesday afternoon. That's going to be big for this team. And, look, the reason why these teams have these joint practices, yes, you're going to get extended work against another team, another opponent. You're not facing off against your guys, and it's in a controlled environment. So, having the ability to say, all right, you know what, rather than wait until the preseason game and we'll see what kind of third down or 2-minute drill we can get, let's just have Jalen Hurts go out there and run the first team offense for 10 third down plays this week, and now we're good. We don't need to play him in the game and the rest of that first team offense. And so that will be big, not just for these fringe roster players, but also for the starters on both sides of the football.
We didn't see any starters in this game tonight. Nick Sirianni kind of played a little coy heading into tonight's game. Not sure who we would see, but we did see Marcus Mariota under center. And his training camp had been a little up and down, but they made some shifts across the offensive line for him. And how much of an impact did it make who played at center for him in terms of his production?
Yeah, I think it was big. I think when you saw him every day at practice, the snaps, Nick Sirianni said it this week, that there were more on the ground that he would have liked to see. And so they made a change at second team center. They signed Josh Andrews the day of the open practice last Sunday at Lincoln Financial Field. I think that things kind of calmed down for him a little bit as the week went on for Marcus Mariota. And you saw that tonight. I thought he went out and he did a nice job executing the offense.
It's to me, it's not as important for Marcus Mariota. He's a proven player.
Yep.
He started a lot of games in this league. He's going to be here. But for that second unit, those skill position guys, you want it to be clean for him so that he can help those guys be effective out there. If the ball's on the ground or the line isn't protecting him well, then those tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, they can't show what they can do because Marcus is not being protected. So I understand from his standpoint, he needs to get work done, but I think it's more important for those second guys out there, the guys like a Greg Ward that's out there that's trying to make the roster. You need your quarterback to be able to be effective, so you got to be able to protect Marcus back there.
What combinations did you see between Marcus and some of those wideouts that you thought showed some promise?
I think that over the course...
Actually, Marcus Mariota is actually ready for his
go.
press conference,
Perfect.
so let's hear from the man himself.
It's a great opportunity for a lot of young guys. It's fun to be in the huddle with some of these guys and just trying to help operate and make sure it's clean. But for the most part, I thought we were efficient. Could have been better on a couple penalties on the second drive that cost us some points. But all in all, I thought our guys did a good job.
Sorry, Marcus, not a football question, but with everything going on in Maui right now, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. First and foremost, just thinking about the families and everybody that's affected. Football is just a game, and when you look at it from a different perspective, my heart goes out to them and just everybody back home. Hawaii is such a small place. It's such a small community that everyone has family or friends that have been affected by it. So, all I can say is that we're thinking about them. We're praying for them. Please, if you have an opportunity to help donate or help support, it's bad. So just appreciate the love and support and always think about them whenever I'm away.
You get to see Tanner McKee day in and day out in practice. What did you see from him tonight in his first NFL action?
Yeah, he was really calm and poised and just operated really well for a young guy. And I think that's kind of all of us. Jalen's been in the system now for a couple of years, 3 seasons. And, the rest of us are kind of learning. And it's awesome that we have a great example in Jalen. And it was really cool tonight to see Tanner play well and to kind of operate and just feel more and more comfortable in the system.
For you learning, did you feel better as you went out there tonight? Were you at all surprised or, by the way that you performed and the way the offense was able to run for a couple drives?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, the expectation is to be efficient. The expectation is to be a point guard, so to say, and just spread the ball around and let these guys go make plays. That's the beautiful thing about this offense is it gives everybody an opportunity to shine. And, as we continue forward in camp, we're going to continue to get more and more comfortable. But like I said tonight, I thought our young guys came out and played with incredible effort, and it was great to see.
What was like converting some of those third and long situations to help move the chains, to be able to face that adversity head on and be able to still be able to succeed?
Yeah, I think it's great. It just kind of creates momentum. I think that's ultimately why we got in scoring range. But it's good. It's good to look back on tape. You don't always want to live in those situations, and we can learn from being better and more efficient on first and second down. But to be able to convert those third and longs was huge, and it's a step in the right direction.
Marcus, what was Jalen like during the game?
Oh, he's great. Just provided his insight, what he saw. And I think for all of us, it's just being able to support one another. So whoever's the guy, whoever's pulling the trigger, it's just being able to be another set of eyes, just to be a support system. And Jalen was there for us all night.
Josh Andrews just came in the last week. What has he been able to do to help stabilize working with the offense?
Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit. And that's what's crazy about the NFL is you're going to face situations where guys are coming in on Tuesday or Wednesday and they got to play on Sunday. And for him to come in and to operate and to really just kind of set the communication standard for our guys as the center says a lot about who he is and the type of player he is.
You had a good connection with Greg Ward tonight. Is that something you guys have worked on in camp, and what was it like connecting with him?
Oh, he makes it easy. He's one of those guys that knows what to do. He's always going to be in the right place, and he's always going to create separation. So, like I said, it's on me just to give him opportunities to catch the football, and he made a few really good plays for us tonight.
Are there specific things you want to get out of the preseason here, knowing that in the regular season you might not have that game action?
Yeah, you said it best. I think it's just to get live action in the system. You know, I've always been a reps guy. I always feel like I've learned more from experience, and to be able to get out there and play, to be under the gun with the play clock and to get into these different situations, I think is very important for me to feel comfortable in the system. So the more the merrier, and I appreciate the fact that I get the opportunity to go out there and play.
It was Brian Johnson's first time calling a game at the NFL level. What was he like in the headset to you?
Oh, he was great. He was great. I think it's a very underrated talent to be able to communicate from the headset. You know, it's such an emotional game, and you know you can get tied up into what's going on. But he was very calm and collected, and made it really efficient for us as quarterbacks to be able to get the play in and out.
In terms of getting reps in the system and using your legs, obviously it's different than practice when nobody can hit the quarterback. So did you feel like it was important to sort of test that against a live defense?
It definitely helps get some of the cobwebs out for sure. You know, when you don't play football for 7-8 months, you know, it's just part of it. You want to kind of get some of the contact out of the way. So I just kind of play the game that I always know how to play. I try to use my legs when I can, and you know, being in a preseason game is no different. So if there's an opportunity for me to run around and make a play, I'm going to do that.
Anything else?
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
That was Marcus Mariota saying it's always good to get the cobwebs off. 7 for 11, 29 rushing yards for Marcus Mariota in his first couple looks with the Philadelphia Eagles, his new team. And he looked really good on the run. He has a great ability to extend plays with his legs, which is what Eagles fans are used to out of Jalen Hurts. So it's good that the backup can kind of follow suit a little bit if we need him to step in. That's a big if. But we actually do have our first Ask Ike question. So thank you for using the chat. And Ike, the fans want to know your first impressions of Swift.
First impression was a good impression tonight. He only got to touch the ball twice. Had a nice 22-yard run. Yep. So that certainly was a good thing to see. You know, DeAndre Swift is going to be an explosive player. He's one of those guys you want to get him on the perimeter, get him out in open space, get him matched up on a safety or a linebacker. He's usually going to make that guy miss. DeAndre Swift, with his touches throughout the course of a game, he's going to be a player that can take the ball to the house at any time. Tonight, I didn't expect to see a whole lot from him. I was actually a little surprised that he got to carry the ball a couple times, but pleasantly surprised. You see a big run right here, break a tackle. You know, he's not known for being sort of a physical type of runner. He's more of a speed guy, but right there he showed you he can lower his shoulder and break a tackle and get extra yards need be.
Yeah, what has me so excited about DeAndre Swift here in Eagles Green is, because I completely agree with you, Ike, is that he is at his best when he is out in space. So when you get him to the perimeter or you get him up to the second level. Now, the Eagles, they've got a number of schemes in their run game, in their offense, where they can really kind of dictate that to the defense and say, hey, you know what? We're going to trap a defensive tackle and get the running back up. We're going to run different draw plays or perimeter run plays to get the running back out in space. And it also helps when you have one of the most dominant offensive lines in football, where you can then create that space against the defense's will, get the running back up into the second level. I'm excited to see what DeAndre Swift can do this year in Eagles Green.
Right, and speaking of the run game, no Kenny Gainwell, no Boston Scott featuring in this game. This running back room, it is stacked, it is exciting. And Tanner McKee actually is at the podium, so we'll hold that thought and hear from Tanner McKee now.
Tanner, what's it like getting your first NFL fly doing that?
It's great. Honestly, before the game, I was talking to our quarterback coach, Alex Tanney, and I was like, this is pretty surreal right now, just putting on an Eagles uniform. I know for the first time in practice it was surreal, but to actually strap up and being able to play against another team, and it was a really surreal moment, and obviously super excited to get every opportunity that I have.
That first throw, take us through that first throw.
I mean, I was obviously pretty excited when we came out. We saw that kind of coverage, checked the play. Not necessarily check the play, but gave him that certain route, and then, just let him go up and attack the ball. I feel like on a lot of those deep balls, they weren't even necessarily perfect throws, but we have really good athletes and really good ball hawks. And so if you give them a chance, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come down with the ball. So that was what we did a lot of the time.
Is it fair to say that you pushed the ball downfield tonight, maybe more than we've seen from you throughout camp a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it depends on what we're trying to do as an offense and what obviously Coach Johnson calls. But yeah, I would say we were pretty aggressive, and I'm all for that. So I was pretty excited.
What did you make of offensive coordinator Brian Johnson's first night calling plays? What was your first night?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I felt like we had a really good mixture of different things, and as a player, I'm just going to operate what is called, and not second guess too many things. We have checks and things that we're going to get in and out of versus certain looks, but once coach gives you a call, you have to execute that call and play that call like it's the best play that's ever been written up. And then as a quarterback, you have to convey that to the guys in the huddle. So having that confidence, and when coach gives them the call saying like, yeah, this play is going to work, I feel like it's a big thing for being a quarterback.
Obviously, Nick told you that you were going to play tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But when the coach comes over to you and says, you're in the next series, what's it like?
Yeah, pretty excited, obviously. Just making sure I'm warm, everything's good. It's pretty amazing, obviously, to put on, the Eagles helmet and play. But once you get out there, I mean, it's football. Like everything, like the crowd and everything, you can just block out, and it's just like practice. The plays that we've run them hundreds of times in practice and repped them so many times. And so I feel like pregame, and especially these night games when you're sitting in a hotel thinking about it all the time, you're like, man, what different looks could they give us? But then once you get out there, you can, coach does a great job of preparing us. You really feel prepared for everything that they can do.
What was Jalen like tonight? Was he on the headset with you at all?
No, so he wasn't on the headset, but when we got on the sidelines, he was coming over and saying some things, giving some coaching points, and saying good job when things were going well. So obviously he's an unbelievable leader, and everybody respects him, and when he talks, everybody shuts up and listens. So just getting that feedback from a guy like him that knows football so well and has obviously had the success that he's had, I feel like is really valuable information for me to hear when I'm on the sideline.
You and Tyree had a good connection tonight, especially on that first pass from you. Have you been working on that with him in training camp, and what was working with him too?
Yeah, I feel like he did a great job attacking the deep ball, reacting late. I feel like that's one thing that I feel like is almost underestimated in the eyes of maybe some people that don't play football. Just not reacting too early for the defense to be able to react, but right when that ball's a foot away, just go up and snag. And I feel like he did a really good job of that. And yeah, we've been working things like that after practice, during practice, and it's great when you're able to apply something that you've been working on for a while. And I feel like we were able to apply it today.
Was there one specific element of your first live game action that surprised you?
Something that surprised me? Not necessarily. Everything went pretty smoothly. I was happy. Everything worked with the headset. The first time, it was the first time that the headset turned off for me at 15 seconds, so that was kind of a change because obviously you don't have that in college. You just get the play, you look at your wristband, and you go. So having the headset turn off and me having to, finish the play call or just get to a different play was the first time for me. It only happened once, but obviously I'm going to get more comfortable as sometimes that happens.
You and Ian got the majority of the reps, but when the defense is on the field, how much are you guys talking and kind of teaching each other and learning from each other?
Yeah, I think a lot. When we're on the sidelines, you can see us on the iPads looking at different looks and, things that we maybe could have checked into or different ways that we could have, responded to what the defense was doing. I feel like we had a really good feel of kind of what was going on and made sure everybody was on the same page. And so, yeah, it worked out good.
As the preseason continues, what are your aspirations? What do you want to show the coaches about your game and go through these games that are practicing?
For me personally, I can be a leader and command the offense and, move the ball down the field. I feel like, especially in the preseason, we're just going to try to eliminate sloppy football, is what Coach Sirianni always says, and just be able to operate at a high level, get to our checks, get up and, not have delay games or pre-snap penalties or things like that. So just be able to operate, get everybody on the same page, and play clean football.
Okay, last one.
A lot of rookies talk about the speed of the game. Did you notice that, the NFL versus the college level?
It's definitely faster, but the great thing is your guys are faster as well. And so, when the coaches do such a good job of preparing you in practice, I feel like in the game it feels like practice. And so I didn't necessarily feel like the game was much faster than it was in practice. I feel like we prepared really well in training camp. We practice like we play, and there really wasn't much difference from, practice to the game.
Cool. Thanks, Darren.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Good Nick in here next.
That was Tanner McKee, selected 188th overall out of Stanford, and he is a quarterback that provides the Eagles with a much different look. He's a real pocket passer kind of guy, and because he looks very different from Marcus Mariota, Jalen Hurts, and what they're able to do, how did you see that reflected in what we saw from the wideouts?
I like what I saw from the young guy tonight. First opportunity to be out there reminds me of a quarterback that played here a few years ago. You guys may remember him. Number 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick Foles. Yeah, tall guy. He has that elongated release that he likes to throw out there. Had a nice job tonight throwing the ball out there to Cleveland, getting him the football. So I thought Tanner McKee did a good job in his first game. Didn't turn the ball over.
Well, let's hear from head coach right now, Coach Sirianni taking the podium.
Hey, everybody. Been a while since I've stood for 3.5 hours.
So the decision to rest the starters came why?
Because we're going to treat these joint practices like games, right? That's in 2 days. Like when you and it's a little bit more of a controlled situation in a joint practice, and so when you play a Thursday night game, right, you're walk through. Sunday play, your Monday walk through, Tuesday walk through, Wednesday walk through, then game. And so, we had a good week of work. This week we went 3 days in a row. Quez, I don't know, do they know about Quez? Yeah, Quez had a hamstring, Covey had a hamstring, so that's why they weren't going today. So, I didn't want to put anybody at risk and then going into the Browns joint practices. So that was the main reason, Jeff, and why we did that.
Speaking of resting people, we noticed Gainwell and Scott were set, Penny, Swift, and the other guys, they had to play. What went behind that decision? And I know it's sort of, there's a little tape, but
yeah.
How do you assess the running backs the way they play?
I thought they did a good job. I thought there was a lot of pressures being thrown at us. That's always a tough team to play, a really well-coached team. Always. That team's always well coached. Really got a lot of respect for Coach Harbaugh. And we wanted to see Rashad go. Rashad hasn't played in a little bit, right? And Trey hasn't played in a little bit. So we wanted to see them go a little bit. My plan with the back, and I have no problem telling you guys this, like the backs, I always like those guys getting tackled. So the first time they don't get tackled is in the game one. So, next game, Boston or Kenny will get a couple carries like Swift did today, and the next game the other one will get a couple carries. So it was just DeAndre's turn tonight to do it. That's what went into that. That's my philosophy with the backs. And sometimes, that's my philosophy now, but that doesn't mean I'm locked into that. So next year, if you say something to me like, hey, you told me to do this in the back, we'll see. All right? Okay.
Jalen Carter played 2 snaps tonight. Was that the plan, or did you see enough on that first snap?
Again, he's going to be in, a lot in these games in a couple days. The reason the starters warmed up, right? The reason they warmed up is because, again, I don't want their first time they go through their routine to be in the first preseason, in this first game. And so, we wanted to do that, and with all the starters, pardon me, and then get a couple of the young guys some reps too. And so that's why he played a couple reps, and we'll see where he is. And we'll obviously he's going to play a lot during the joint practices, and we'll see where he is if what we're going to do next week.
Was the pressure indicative of what you've seen on film in camp the first few weeks?
Yeah, obviously it's early. He's working hard every day, and he's had some really nice plays. He's very talented, and he's just got to keep working. He still has yet to make a play in the NFL, so he's just got to put his head down and work. But he's put some nice practices back to back, actually. So he's just got to put his head down and keep working.
That was the first sort of dry run for Brian with Sean. Brian obviously calling the plays. 14, I think, and 12 on those first two drives. The plays. How important is that?
I really thought Brian and Sean were in a great groove. I thought the communication was operating at a high level. Now, we still had some pre-snap penalties. We had a delay of game. And anytime you have a delay of game, it's on everybody. It's on me. It's on the quarterback. It's on the coordinator. It's on all of us, the offensive coaches, everybody. And so, but I really felt really good. I just thought Brian was in a great groove. Same with Sean. I just thought they did a really nice job with the communication. I mean, we stressed that all week. Like one of the things we showed yesterday at our team meeting was all the bad football that is played, in preseason. There's a lot of bad football, right? There's a lot of mistakes, and we just kind of went through, our process of it. And some of our plays were on that too. And so we really wanted to make sure we played sound football, with fundamentals, and also with high football IQ, with fundamentals, and also really good operation. And I thought that was really good. I thought the coordinators did an excellent job of operating at a high level.
Tanner McKee made a number of big completions tonight. What did you learn about him in his performance?
Yeah, I mean, the first play he's in, he puts a back shoulder on I can't remember who it was. Was it Tyree? Tyree, I mean, perfectly placed ball. And then, we've been seeing that in practice. He's made a number of really nice throws like that. He makes quick decisions, gets the ball, usually goes to the right place with the football, and is an accurate passer. And that's what we saw in college. And we're really excited to work with him. And I thought he did well. I mean, his stats might not look great. I don't know, what was he, 10 of 20? Like 140 some. He had some decent stats. I mean, you always want that completion percentage to be up a little bit, but I thought he did a lot of nice things and operated at a high level.
You stretched the field more than he's done this summer. Is that on purpose?
It's the same thing, like, what you get with the defense. That they're playing a different defense than our defense plays. And so, that's sometimes that's just the design of the defense of what you're playing and him going to the right place with the football.
Marcus, we talked about the first two drives. How impressed were you with his ability to extend those drives, a couple third and longs before them?
Yeah, he did it a couple times with his feet, and then I really thought that play that he made to Greg Ward on the crosser was a really outstanding play of, just how he kind of went about his process to get there. Him just playing good quarterback right there. It was really good to see him do that. And, and operate at a high level. We know he's played a lot of games in this league, and that's what we expected to see, and he went out there and really played a nice game.
In your first season, you made a point of telling us you didn't want to show anything in the preseason because of the element of surprise. Are you doing that with the defense this year?
I think we're doing that with offense and defense. I don't want anyone to really know that we could be doing anything when we get, to game 1, game 2, game 3, and then by the time that goes around, you kind of know what we're doing. So, all our new wrinkles we're keeping in our pocket. All our thought processes we're treating preseason like that because we don't want to give away any answers. That's why we practice hard, right? Is to go out there and you can work that stuff at practice and then come out here and work a base game plan and let the guys try to operate at a high level. And so that's always going to be the philosophy. You're probably not going to see any new wrinkles from us. And that's by design, but it's also there to allow young guys to go out there and operate at a high level, knowing exactly what to do so their talent can shine, and so we can evaluate them.
All
right. Thanks, everybody.
That's it for in here.
Always good to hear from head coach Nick Sirianni after the Eagles' first preseason game, a 19-20 loss to the Baltimore Ravens, but they're in good company. The Ravens have won, like 1 billion preseason games at this point. So if anyone's keeping track at home, it's a streak not everybody cares about, but it's worth mentioning. So Sirianni said some interesting things that we touched on earlier in the show about how these preseason games they're not putting as much stock into as they are these upcoming joint practices. And that's really where they're going to let things loose a little bit. But he said it's a good opportunity for these players to really shine, take a moment. And last year we saw a player, an undrafted player, Reed Blankenship, really make a name for himself in the Philadelphia Eagles franchise. there's another opportunity now for more guys to start doing that now. What qualities do you start to look for in these guys who maybe went undrafted or who are a little bit unknown?
Well, I think the first thing you got to look for is how smart the player is. Does he limit mental errors? The coach has to be able to trust you out there. And when you're a young player or an undrafted player, bottom of the roster type of guy, you don't have as much rope to make mistakes out there on the field. So that's the first thing. You have to be a smart player. You're not going to get as many opportunities as some of these other guys throughout the course of the week in practice. So then when you do get your shot, you had better take advantage of it. You mentioned a guy like Reed Blankenship. I remember him last year. I mean, he's the type of player that he may not get to play 20, 30 snaps a game in the preseason, but if he's playing 10 snaps, you're going to notice him on those 10 snaps out there, whether he's making a pass breakup, whether he's making a tackle. And in the preseason, the way they do things now, the games are where the young players really do have an opportunity to show whether or not they can be of any value to the team.
Yeah, remember, Reed wasn't the only one that made it last year. 4 undrafted free agents made this team a year ago between Reed Blankenship, Josh Jobe, Britton Covey, and Josh Sills. And I agree with everything that Ike said. I think, this year it's probably going to be tight for 4 of them to make it just because of the depth of the Eagles draft class. A lot of rookies set to already make this team from the draft group. But I think you look at Eli Ricks and what he did tonight. I mean, getting that pick 6. He said in the locker room after the game that his nickname was Pick 6 Ricks in college. A couple stops at LSU and Alabama. This is a guy that's got instincts. He's got length. So it's good to be able to say, hey, you know what? The lights come on. This is a guy that has not gotten a ton of work here this summer in practice, working with the 3rd and 4th team. Come out when the lights are on, you get a pick 6, then a PBU after the pick 6. That's a good sign here for Eli Ricks.
A pick 6, and then you got to kind of revive an old nickname too, which is like always key because you want people to know, like, hey, in case you want to know, you can also call me Pick 6 Ricks.
The name sticks.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, we're on a roll here. We have another question coming in for Ask Ike, and they want to know, Ike, your thoughts on Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith.
Well, I thought it was great to see him out there for the first time. They didn't get many snaps, especially Jalen Carter didn't get many snaps out there. But we were just talking about taking advantage of the snaps that you do get out there, and he certainly flashed in his limited reps. The thing I like about Nolan Smith, while he may not have shown up in the stat sheet for this game, I love the fact that he was out there in a versatile role. You saw him out there on special teams, the punt team, the kickoff coverage team. Late in the game, we're talking about a first-round draft pick that I saw lined up at the L5. That's my old spot, Fran. That's why I noticed it. The L5, where you line up next to the kicker, I saw Nolan Smith there. So what I mean by that is the mindset.
Yep.
So when you're a young player and you come in, sometimes you can feel like you don't have to do some of the dirty work that the undrafted guys, lower round draft picks do. He's a first round draft pick, albeit the second first round draft pick, still a first round draft pick. And to see him out there busting his tail on the special teams unit, that lets you know that's great character there. He has a great work ethic, and it's just going to get better as we go through the preseason.
And if you heard Nolan Smith talk at all during training, you definitely got that sense from him.
Yeah.
He is so eager to get out there. He has not played since October. He tore his pec muscle back with Georgia, and he was just so eager to get out there.
That's why he wanted to play.
Yeah,
Since October.
Yeah. And he said, the day after he had surgery, he was out in the weight room doing curls, letting people know that this injury is not going to take him down, and gave him a whole new sense of not only eagerness to get on the field, but appreciation when you're out there. You never really know when that last snap is going to be for your career, and it put a lot of things in perspective. And I love that fresh perspective he really brings to this team.
And obviously, look, when you watch Nolan Smith every day at practice, every rep, there's like a level of urgency and violence and explosiveness to it. Even if it's individual special teams drills, he's out there attacking the bag. And you see like the coach that's holding the bag like get knocked back. Everything he does, he just has that extra level of oomph to it. And I think that appreciation you spoke about, Marisa, I think a lot of that shows up with how he practices.
Well, his Georgia Bulldog teammate put in a great first impression for Philly fans everywhere. And Fran actually broke down one of his fantastic plays in the Ricoh review.
All right, so for this week's Ricoh review, I want to take a look at one of the topics I was most excited to see. That's Jalen Carter and this Eagles rookie class. Well, we got a chance to see the Eagles' top 10 pick in action on the first series of the game here for the Eagles defense. It's 3rd down, and you can see Jalen Carter is lined up as a 3 technique over the right guard. Now, what are you going to see here from Jalen Carter? Not just his athleticism, his technique, his ability to win off the ball, but also his football intelligence. He's got a great feel for the game. That shows up both in the pass game and in the run game. You go back and watch him at Georgia, even as a young player, as a sophomore, these instincts and feel show up. And this is a great example. We're going to let this run. He's going to go and work up the field vertically and really sell that he's going to try and get vertically up the field against the right guard. Now, this is a great freeze because you could see the protection call from Baltimore. They are sliding away from Jalen Carter. You have a couple of Eagles veterans here in Milton Williams and Derek Barnett coming from the offensive left side. So the offense, they're going to slide that way, provide some extra protection there for the quarterback. But that leaves Jalen Carter on an island with the right guard. Now, Jalen understands that he now has a two-way go. He can win outside, he can win inside. With that knowledge, he now can really vary up his plan of attack against the offensive guard. He knew all of this just before the snap. So you could see, again, he's going to work upfield, try and get that guard to set to protect his outside half, but then watch what he does. He's going to club with that inside hand, and we can let this run, and he's going to swim right past the guard. You see the athleticism take over. He gets home for a pressure and an incomplete pass, and the Eagles defense gets off the field. And so you saw the athleticism, you saw the technique to win at the top of the rush, but the intelligence, the feel, the instincts for Jalen Carter, that's what caught my eye on the opening series of the game. You love to see that from the rookie top 10 pick.
That was one of those plays where every Eagles fan got to the edge of their seat when they saw Jalen Carter make that play. He just completely destroyed that defensive line, and it was fantastic to see him come out with the ferociousness, velocity that we expected out of him, and we weren't quite sure what it was going to look like. So the Eagles are on their way back up 95, coming back from M&T Bank Stadium. But let's look ahead to their next opponent, which will be the Cleveland Browns. They had joint practices coming up with the Browns, and this is what it's gonna look like in terms of the Jameson nightcap. So, with Browns on everybody's mind, what stands out from carrying over from this game to the next?
Yeah, I think the big thing is just being able to say, hey, you know what? Like 2 days from now, you're going to have your joint practice against a team that you saw last summer. We're out in Cleveland, in Berea, Ohio. I was there for the joint practice. It was 2 really good practices against the Browns. Now you have them here. You get Deshaun Watson. This is some familiar faces there. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz makes his return to South Philadelphia. So there will be some familiar faces, and it's a really talented Cleveland roster that's going to be challenging for the AFC North.
Yeah, this will be a great test for the Eagles as far as the joint practices go, because you look at the Eagles offense going up against this Browns defense. You just mentioned Jim Schwartz, Super Bowl defensive coordinator, champion here with the Philadelphia Eagles. He has some talent to work with over
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett,
yep.
Who I think has a good chance of being Defensive Player of the Year, is if our guy Hassan Reddick doesn't win it.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball, and so I think our offense will get a great stiff test in the joint practices. And then when you look at Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, those guys on the offensive side of the ball, that's going to be good for our defense as well. I'm pretty sure Coach Sirianni is excited and looking at the opportunity at these joint practices. The starters may not play as much next Thursday night. It's a shorter week. I expect these guys to get a lot of work done Monday and Tuesday.
Yep.
It's a great way to level up as we progress in this preseason for sure. Now, we know what was happening at M&T Bank Stadium. The Eagles were taking on the Ravens, and you might be thinking, well, the link was empty. Nothing was happening. But you'd be wrong, because we want to send our best well wishes to Dave Spadera and his wife, Angela, who got married at the link today. This is footage. There is their first kiss.
Whoa.
Fellas, calm down. But we want to say congratulations to Dave and his wife, who looked absolutely beautiful.
And best wishes to Dave and to Angela. Outstanding. It's so fitting for him to get married at the 50-yard line at Lincoln Financial Field. Very happy for them. Best wishes from everybody here at Eagles Entertainment and from the NovaCare Complex.
Yeah, beautiful bride. Slow down, Dave. You got the rest of the night, man. Slow down, brother. He's got excited over there.
Oh, we have some Dave Spadera MVP for that. Yeah, you know, let's roll breaking down the I do kiss.
Like a lizard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think we need any more comparison. Do you have any thoughts that you want to
No, I think I'm good. I'm ready to dive into this film from tonight. Watch the preseason tape. I'm excited to say that. No, The Ricoh review is done. The Jameson nightcap is done. I'm ready to watch some tape.
All right. No, we sincerely, best wishes to Dave. He's probably still partying. I mean,
yeah, he's still partying.
He's got the link all night.
He might be writing a post-game article right now. He might be going the other way, too.
We are going to stop by, ask for a drink. So,
Yes.
a great game from the Eagles. We saw a lot of different things from this team. And as we said, the players who are really trying to make a name for himself. Tyler Steen, he's somebody who's been very interesting to me because he played at left tackle today, but he's also been practicing at right guard. So not only is he switching sides, he's switching positions. And you need different physical attributes in those positions, too. Going from a more physical, sturdy base to a more athletic, agile base with playing tackle. What does it speak to the confidence level of this coaching staff giving Tyler Steen this opportunity to cross-train like this?
Well, what it lets you know is that they certainly love his athleticism. The fact that he can move from right guard to left tackle, I mean, that's a huge jump. And he doesn't seem like he struggled with it at all. He certainly has the athleticism. Going to have to work on the technique part of it a little bit, but he's got the best coach in all of football in Jeff Stoutland as an offensive line coach to get him ready to go. But them moving him around lets me know that he may be one of the first people, if need be, off the bench to come in and fill in for somebody, whether it's at the tackle position or the guard position.
I do think it says a lot about their trust in him and his ability to not just, hey, we're going to compete for that starting right guard job, but also fill in at tackle as well. You mentioned it. The differences in playing both sides is very difficult. Then changing positions has its own set of challenges as well. But to me, I mean, look, we were all excited about that Jalen Carter play, but I mean, Tyler Steen, he got some guys on the ground in the run game as well. I'm excited to go back and watch that. That is something we have seen as well in practice.
It's going to be exciting to see how this continues to develop again. They have joint practices coming up against the Cleveland Browns. Weren't able to get the win in Baltimore, but still pretty good showing from a lot of rookies and a lot of guys deep in the depth chart. Thank you so much for joining us for the Eagles postgame show presented by Ricoh. I'm Marisa Pilla with Fran Duffy and Ike Reese. Enjoy the rest of your night and go Birds!